This is a computer braille editor, and it does two main things. If you were to have a braille typewriter, you would be able to type in dots rather than normal ASCII character because you want to type things in like actual braille. So actual braille would be like go into Perkins mode, and so if you want to do some contracted words, they would look funny as ASCII, but they would actually be what you want in contracted braille. And with 8-dot computer braille, you can make contracted braille, and these would be like called BRL files. They're basically ASCII files that can be used for this purpose. But the real point of this is to do 8-dot. So I can type in Perkins and what I'm doing is I'm chording all of the dots. I'm not typing them in normal, the way I would normally type on a QWERTY keyboard. But I can use the escape key to switch between modes. And if I'm in QWERTY mode, I can just kind of forget that I'm using braille. So let's see, if you really want to use 8-dot computer braille if you're doing any kind of coding. So you know, if you got something like this, let's turn 2 times N. In fact, in normal braille, this would actually be a number, right? So it's a little bit of a problem when you're trying to mix the two. So there is no 8-dot computer braille typewriter in existence. Unfortunately, there are no computer braille styluses. So the thing is, when you're working with paper, you kind of have to go back to 6-dot. So this is kind of like a Perky Duck for web. Yeah. So page 2. So the idea is you think of it like a stack of papers. A typewriter just allows you to do simple 8-dot. The thing about 8-dot when you're mixing QWERTY, like say you want to do formulas, 3 times x squared. This kind of looks like Nemeth, except it's not as verbose. It's literally just one character per character. And this braille here is actually just a font, so you can copy and paste it when you're done. But the whole point of having this system is just so that you can learn braille really well, because if you are on the command line using Maxima or something like this, you could actually do computer algebra like this. And if you were using one of these Orbit 20 readers, this is the braille that it's going to match. It's what's going to be on your display. Yeah, so it's plain old QWERTY typing. The font here has a small line that you can see so that you don't get lost if you're looking at things that are like visually ambiguous, like say we go into Perkins mode, things like that. They're kind of hard to tell apart without some kind of markers. Right, single dots, you can't really tell where they are on the paper, but they're really clear because they get the marker, right? Because you know that dot is part of, that. So relative to where that marker is, if you see this, you can tell that's A because it's to the left of that mark, whereas this is not A, right? That's back tick. But the reason why you want to do this is because when you're on a computer, things like passwords and whatnot. It has to be really, really exact. So 0x, blah, blah, blah. Something like, yeah, ABD. So you want to be able to very easily do coding. So I'm going to get out Perkins mode, and I'm going to do OX. And this is way better than what people recommend for Nemeth, where like every time you do a number, you got to do like number, A, number A. So that would be the number 1, but if you're in Nemeth, it's going to be like the lower number. Perkins mode, right? So that's a 1 in Nemeth, but that's a 1 in regular. So just get rid of using Nemeth and just like type in 8 dot, because that's what your computer is going to show you. So if you were to shell, like if you're looking at bash shell, it's going to look like that. And you'll very quickly learn things like, so you learn your braille like this. 4 plus 5 equals 9. And because of these marks, you can actually tell where you're at. So you have pages, so you just switch between a bunch of pages, and you can switch between Perkins input and QWERTY input. And man, I wish that I had 2 things when I first started trying to learn Braille. The first thing I was missing on day 1 is I did not have a font for my computer that actually matched my hardware terminal. This guy, a 20 cell Orbit Reader 20. And I also didn't have something where I could just, like set a font on an actual bash shell and just like use something from bash, like all day long, because you very quickly get to learn the punctuation. It's really, really hard to memorize punctuation for me. But as soon as I started messing around with this font, the ambiguity of dots stopped bothering me so much. And yeah, so now it's pretty easy. Now I would say one thing about Perkins, it kind of depends on your keyboard. Like I can do this, but if I try and do all 8, I can do that, and I can do that, but I can't do every single dot all at once. And because of the way this works, there is a dot pattern for every single byte, but you have weird issues. Like if you do that is literally a null byte. That's like a literal like ASCII byte 0. So it's kind of interesting that I can actually type every single byte, all 256 characters, because basically it's just taking the standard. There's like 64 Braille patterns, which use these dots. But the thing is you have, dot 7 and dot 8 on the bottom to add to it. You really only need 7 dots for most of ASCII, printable ASCII. And the 8th dot is there just to actually complete it. So like when the 8th dot is turned on, it's basically just like the lower half where it's like that. Like this is what you really need. 64 isn't enough, which is why the Braille code is so crazy, because it's like not enough to represent all the punctuation and everything. But 7's enough for sure. And what's really good is the 1-for-1 mapping allows it to just be in font, which makes your tools just work. Right. So in regular Braille, I would do, I can't remember, I have to do part of it in Perkins, so, and then do Perkins capitalization. So that's what capitalization looks like. in their infinite wisdom, they've made everything in Braille like its own damn language. And what you really want, you just want to be able to do to where everything matches to single characters. And where this really matters is say you're trying to do some coding, when they make parentheses take 2 and 3 characters, regular punctuation taking too many characters, 2 or 3, it like really gets out of hand. But anyways, this is a good way of learning stuff, and yeah, because of this, it works really well from Bash. In fact, let's see if we can just bring up Bash real quick and show that in use. So if I bring up a terminal for the profile, let's see, new window, but I don't want a new window in, I'll do it down here. I need a new window for Orbit Reader. Yeah, here we go. So options, new window with a profile. That's what I want. New window with profile. Check this out. All right. It's the same font that I'm using in the text editor, but because of this, I can do rlwrap maxima, and I now have a shell where I can do mathematics. Like, I literally can't imagine doing algebra without something like this. So if I do 4 plus 5, oh yeah, display 2D is false. Now 4 plus 5. Right. So because of this, I can do things like f of x equals x squared. Yeah. And it defined a function. There you go. F of say 3. That's what you want. You want to be able to practice from your Bash shell where you can just like do like normal stuff, and set your terminal to like something like really small. Like I can barely even match like how small an Orbit 20 is. Yeah, I get 5 lines, and then you can use rlwrap, so you have shell-like things going back forth. But anyways, that is the same font that I wrote to support this. So I exported it to TrueType and to web font. But anyways, that's it.